Good morning, everyone. I am Marjorie Jane A. Torino.
I am Juliani Joyce Nano.
I am Criselda Fuentes. I am Aiza S. Doble. I am Vicente G. Aspirin.
I am Karil Amadela.
I am Benjamin M. Pablo.
And we are the Group 4.
Good morning, everyone. I am requesting all my students to please stand for our morning prayer. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear God in heaven, thank you for the wonderful day that you have given to us. Thank you for the gift of life, especially to my students. As we begin our class today, we humbly ask for your guidance and blessing. Help us to open our minds and hearts to the lessons that we will learn. Give us the wisdom to understand and curiosity to explore. All this we ask in the mighty name of Jesus, our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated. Good morning, class! How are you feeling today? Are you happy, sad, or are you excited? But before we proceed to the discussion proper, I, together with my co-teacher, made some classroom rules. First is respect your teacher by listening attentively to the class. Second is refrain from talking to your seatmates. Third is if you have answers or clarifications to address, don't hesitate to raise your hand. Fourth is if no one volunteer to answer my questions, the teacher will call randomly. And lastly, I am encouraging everyone to participate and enjoy the rest of the discussion. Are we clear?
Good morning, class. We are now going to explore and learn another module, which is the Module 6, Other Laws Relevant to the Teaching Profession. But before that, let's have a quick recap of the previous lesson. I have a few questions here, and if you want to answer, just raise your hand. First question. What do you mean by the term professional? Yes, Judilyn? Okay, correct. We all know the term professional refers to someone who is engaged in a specific occupation or activity with a high level of expertise, skill, and dedication. So in connection with the previous module, a professional teacher is someone who is committed to their profession, constantly seeks to improve their teaching methods, and strive to provide the best educations for their students. Second question. What is the primary reason for regulating teaching as a profession and teachers as a professional? What is your answer, Queenie? Well said. The primary reason for regulating teaching as a profession and teachers as a professional is to ensure that educators meet certain standards of competence and professionalism. This helps to maintain the quality of education and protect the interests of both teachers and students. Okay, the last question is, how do you think a teacher should behave in the practice of teaching profession? Yes, Desiree. I agree to that, Miss Desiree. A teacher should behave professionally by demonstrating respect, empathy, and patience toward the students. They should create a positive and inclusive learning environment, encourage active participation, and provide constructive feedback to help students grow and succeed. Thank you for participating, everyone.
Let's have an activity first. The activity is entitled Concept Mapping. A concept map is a way to convey ideas, concepts, and pieces of information visually. The class will be divided into 4 groups. You will be instructed to list all the agencies in public or private sector that gives scholarship grants to the students. You'll be only given 2 minutes to list all the agencies in public or private sector. Points points will be given to the team that has more ideas. The team that garnered the most points will be acknowledged as the winner. Do you understand? 2 minutes will start now. 2 minutes is up. The group that listed many agencies is the group of Loganas. They listed 8 agencies in both public and private sectors that give scholarship grants to the students. Namely, Gokong Wei Brothers, Chuchi Foundation, DOST SEI Undergraduate Scholarship, SCHED Scholarship Program, Unifast Tertiary Education Subsidy, GSIS Educational Subsidy Program, OWA Scholarship Programs, Department of Agriculture Education Assistance for the Youth. Congratulations everyone for doing great job in this activity.
Before we discuss the Module 6, let's have first an activity which is true or false. So I have here a scenario and I will be reading it twice, and afterwards I will be calling some students to answer it. So this is the scenario. Maria, a dedicated and highly qualified female teacher, has been working in a public school for several years. Despite her excellent performance and qualifications, she notices that male colleagues with similar or even lesser qualifications are consistently promoted to higher positions, such as department heads or administrators. Maria decides to assert her rights under RA 9710, the Magna Carta of Women, which aims to ensure equal opportunities for women in various aspects of life, including employment. Number 1. Maria has noticed a gender disparity in promotions within her school. True or false? Yes, Edilisa. Correct. It is true because from the scenario, it says there that her male colleagues are consistently promoted to higher positions. Number 2. Maria is a dedicated and highly qualified teacher. True or false? Yes, April. True, because from the scenario, Maria is highly dedicated and qualified female teacher. Number 3. Maria decides to assert her rights under RA 9710, the Magna Carta of Women. True or false? Yes, Alisa. Correct, because from the scenario, she decides to assert her rights. Number 4. RA 9710 aims to ensure equal opportunities for women in various aspects of life, including employment. Yes, Judilyn. True, because RA 9710 aims to ensure equal opportunity to women in various aspects in life. 5. Maria's decision to assert her rights is a violation of her professional conduct. Okay, Leisel? Correct. It is false because her decision doesn't violate her professional conduct. Number 6. Maria's male colleagues with similar or lesser qualifications are consistently promoted to higher positions. Okay, Jazel? Correct. Because from the scenario, it states there that her male colleagues are consistently promoted to higher position even though that it has a similar or lesser qualifications. Number 7. Maria's promotion prospects are affected by gender discrimination. True or false? Okay, Flora? Yes, because even though Maria is qualified, she wasn't promoted because of her gender. Number 8. The Magna Carta of Women addresses gender inequality in the workplace. Okay, Charmaine? Correct, because Magna Carta aims to give equal opportunity to women in various aspects in life. Number 9. True or false? Maria should consult a lawyer to understand her rights under RA 9710. Yes, Carlan? True, because before she asserts her rights, she should consult a lawyer to understand the RA 9710. So lastly, number 10. True or false? By asserting her rights, Maria is advocating for equal opportunities for women in her profession. Yes, Queen? Yes, it is true, because there are other workplaces who discriminate women. Thank you, class, for participating. Good job, everyone. Let's proceed to our discussion proper. We are now in Module 6, which is the other laws relevant to the teaching professions. Our module objectives is that by the end of the module, the student can develop understanding of the details and provisions of laws significant to the teaching profession and how they apply to the teaching profession. There will be 6 lessons that will be discussed in this module. Let's move on to the lesson 1. This consists of 2 RAs, which are Republic Act 6728 and Republic Act number 8545. Our learning objectives is that by the end of the lesson, students will be able to determine the different programs assistance provided by the government and explain how and why the government provides support to the students and teachers in private education through Republic Act number 6728 and Republic Act number 8545. Anyone from the class can read the statement? Yes, Lennox. Okay, thank you. So in Article 14, Section 2, the Philippine Constitution mandates the government to establish a systems that provides financial assistance to deserving students, particularly those from underprivileged backgrounds. This provisions emphasizes the importance of providing equal educational opportunities for all students regardless of their socio-economic status. So let's discuss the Republic Act 6728, and this was enacted on June 10, 1989 in the administration of President Corazon P. Aquino. The Government Assistance to Students and Teachers in Private Education Act, also known as the GASTPE Act, is a law that aims to provide financial support to students and teachers in private educational institutions. The Act ensures that funds are allocated for the benefit of students and teachers, helping to alleviate the financial burden of education. For this Act, there are important provisions which includes the following sections. Section 1 is the title. This Act shall be known as the Government Assistance to Students and Teachers in Private Education Act. Section 2 is the Declaration of Policy. Primarily, the government believes that every Filipino citizen should have access to quality education. They acknowledge the importance of both public and private schools in the education system and appreciate the valuable contribution that private schools have made and will continue to make. To ensure quality educations in private schools, the government utilized the existing resources of private education while also prioritizing its responsibility to provide basic elementary and secondary education. This means that the government recognizes the need to improve education overall with a focus on ensuring primary and secondary education for all students. Section 3. Criteria for assistance. The criteria for assistance in the programs are a set of guidelines that determine who is eligible for financial support. These criteria take various factors into account, such as the tuition fees charged by the schools, socio-economic needs of different regions, overall performance of the schools, academic qualifications and the financial needs of the students, geographic spread and size of the student population. Additionally, students who receive grants under the Private Education Students Financial Assistance Program must be enrolled in schools that have accredited programs or are in the process of seeking accreditations from the Federation of Accrediting Agencies of the Philippines, which includes organizations such as the Philippine Association of Accredited Schools, colleges and universities, and the Association of Christian Schools and colleges accrediting age. This provision states that the priority will be given to students whose family income is below a certain threshold, currently set at 36,000 pesos, but subject to change as determined by the council. It also specifies that assistance programs for students in private post-secondary educations will be extended to those in community colleges and non-degree programs such as vocational and technical courses. Furthermore, the implementation of these programs aims to encourage students to pursue higher education in the same region where their family reside. Lastly, it clarifies that the assistance provided under this act is exclusively for students who are citizens of the Philippines. Next is the Section 4, which is the forms of assistance. There are 8 assistance, namely, first is tuition fee supplements for students in private high schools, including students in vocational and technical courses. Second, high school textbook assistance fund. Third, expansion of the existing educational service contracting scheme. Fourth, the voucher system of the private education student financial assistance program is also known as the PESFA. Fifth, scholarship grants to students graduating as valedictorians and salutatorians from secondary schools. Sixth, tuition fee supplements to students in private colleges and universities. 7. Educational Loan Fund, and 8 is College Faculty Development Fund. We will delve into these different forms of assistance provided to private education institution in my succeeding discussion. Section 5. Tuition fee supplements for students in private high school. The government provides financial assistance for students in private high schools through a voucher system. This system operates as follows. For students enrolled in schools with tuition and other fees below 1,500 pesos per year during the 1988 to 1989 school year, the government grants them a voucher worth 290 pesos. On the other hand, for students enrolled in schools charging above 1,500 pesos, there will be no assistance granted by the government. Moreover, there is a condition attached to this assistance. 70% of the subsidized amount allotted for tuition fees must be allocated towards the payment of salaries, wages, allowances, and other benefits of teaching and non-teaching personnel. Furthermore, it stated that at least 20% of the funds allocated shall be dedicated to enhancing and modernizing various aspects of educational institutions such as buildings and libraries. To ensure transparency, schools are required to maintain a separate record of all financial assistance received from the government, any tuition fee increments, and the detailed allocation and utilization of these funds. Section 6, which is the High School Textbook Assistance Fund. The High School Textbook Assistance Fund is a program established by the Department of Education, Cultures, and Sports, or also known as DEX, to provide financial support to private schools that charge less than 1,500 per year for high school education. The fund is specifically allocated to assess the schools in purchasing high school textbooks that are approved by the DEX and in line with Secondary Education Development Program. It is important to note that the fund cannot be used to purchase books that promote or hinder religious interests. Section 7 is the expansion of the existing educational service contracting, is also known as ESC scheme. First, the Department of Education, Cultures, and Sport, is also known as DEX, will continue to make agreements with private schools. These agreements state that the government will pay for the tuition and other fees of the additional students who cannot be accommodated in public schools and choose to enroll in private school under this program. Second, under this act, the department is required to collaborate with private schools and communities where public high schools are not available. In such cases, the department will cover the expenses including tuition and other fees for students who choose to enroll in these private schools. Third, the maximum amount of financial aid that the government can provide to students enrolled in private school cannot be more than the average cost per student in public high schools. This limitation is in place to ensure that public education remains the primary focus of the government funding. Fourth, the Department of Education, Cultures, and Sports will fully pay the subsidized amount to participating schools not later than the end of the school year. This policy ensures that schools receive the rightful amount in a timely manner, promoting transparency and accountability in the payment system. Fifth, the reporting and allocation of assistance is done based on proportional distribution among 14 regions, considering the total population and high school age population. The State Assistant Council implements an equalization scheme to ensure fair distribution of resources across regions and promote equal access to education for all students. Section 8, which is the assistance to college freshmen. Letter A. The voucher system of private education student financial assistance, or also known as PESFA program, provides financial assistance to underprivileged students enrolling in private educational institutions. It covers both degree and vocational and technical courses. The program has been in existence for several years and has expanded to benefit more students. Moreover, underprivileged students, as defined by this act, are the students whose annual gross income, including the combined annual gross income of their parents, does not exceed 36,000 pesos. Letter B. Under the tuition waiver policy, private colleges and universities are mandated to offer full or half tuition waivers to 5% of incoming freshmen. This requirement applies to valedictorians and salutatorians from both public and private high schools that charge less than 1,500 pesos per student per year during the 1988 to 1989 school year. However, these top students must still meet the admission and retention criteria for the school they are applying to. Letter C. Valedictorians can receive additional benefits from the government alongside with their tuition waivers given by the respective schools, as long as they choose to pursue priority courses to be eligible for these allowances. Letter D. If a graduating class has more than 250 students, this rule allows all salutatorians and first honorable mention graduates to receive the same benefits as valedictorians. This includes any allowances or privileges granted to valedictorians. Section 9. Further assistance to students in private colleges and universities. Tuition fee supplements for non-freshman students of private colleges and universities and priority course programs determined by the Department of Education, Culture, and Sport shall be provided by the government through a voucher system in the following manner. First, for students re-enrolling in priority programs at schools, they will be charged a tuition rate of 80 pesos or less per unit. The government will provide a voucher equivalent to the tuition fee increase. However, schools in this category cannot increase their fees by more than 12 pesos per unit for both priority and non-priority courses. This assistance is only available to students who have completed one academic year by June 1989 and priority programs and does not apply to future college students or current college students who transfer outside of the region. Second, Second, for students attending schools with tuition rates higher than 80 pesos per unit, the government will not provide financial assistance. These schools have the freedom to set their own tuition fees, but they must offer full or half tuition waivers to at least 5% of their students. Third, under these provisions, schools that have accredited programs and charge a tuition rate of less than 80 pesos per unit can still determine their own tuition rates. However, non-freshman students in their accredited priority courses will be eligible for a voucher equivalent to the tuition increase mentioned in the previous section. In other words, if the tuition increases, these students will receive a voucher to cover the rise in tuition costs. Fourth, government assistance and tuition increases as described in this section shall be governed by the same condition as provided under Section 5.2. Section 10 is the consultation. When considering a tuition fee increase, schools must consult with Parents and Teachers Association for secondary schools and student governments or councils, alumni and faculty association for colleges. This consultation should involve sharing audited financial statements with authorized representatives from these groups. The goal is to reconcile any differences and reach an agreement. If this agreement persists, the Alumni Association or another impartial body chosen by the school will act as an arbiter. Section 11, which is the Education Loan Fund. First, the Study Now, Pay Later plan is a program that aims to provide financial assistance to students. The fund is used to provide educational loans that cover various expenses like tuition fees, books, living expenses, and board and lodging. This program helps students to pursue their education by offering loans that can be repaid in the future. Second, when it comes to payment for tuition, matriculation, and other school fees, it is important to note that this amount should be paid directly to the school. This ensures that the funds are used for their intended purpose and avoid any potential misuse or mishandling. Third, any loan given to a student debtor must be repaid once they have completed the course or profession for which the loan was used. However, the repayment will only begin after a 2-year period from the time they start working. Interest on the remaining balance will accrue, but it should not exceed 12% per year. Fourth, the Social Security System Fund offers low-interest educational loan to its member and private educational institutions. This includes financing for school buildings and enhancements for their facilities. This initiative helps members and educational assistants to access funds for educational projects, ultimately benefiting the education sector as a whole. Section 12 is the limitation. Under this act, students have the right to access its benefits, but there are 2 exceptions. Firstly, if a student fails the majority of academic subjects in one school year, unless there is a legitimate reason beyond their control. Secondly, if a student enrolls or transfers to a region outside of their domicile, unless the course they wish to pursue is considered a priority course by the Department of Education, Culture, and Sports, and it's not available in any private school in the region. Section 13, which is the College Faculty Development Fund. The Department of Education, Cultures, and Sports has created the College Faculty Development Fund. This fund provides scholarships for faculty members in private colleges and universities to pursue graduate degrees or attend workshops and seminars. Recipients must commit to a return service of 3 years for each year of scholarship received. The scholarships are awarded for priority courses determined by the department in collaboration with the National Economic Development Authority or the NEDA. And they must not be used for promoting or inhibiting sectarian purposes. Section 14. Program Administration or Rules and Regulations. The State Assistant Council is responsible for policy guidance and direction, monitoring and evaluation of new and existing programs, and the promulgation of rules and regulations. On the other hand, the Department of Education, Cultures and Sports is responsible for the day-to-day administration and program implementation. The State Assistant Council or SAC is a council headed by the Secretary of Education, Cultures and Sports as chairman. It includes representative from NEDA, DBM, DOST, and representative from the Nationwide Association of Teachers, Students, and School Administrators. The last three members are appointed by the President upon the recommendation of the respective sectors for a 4-year term. Moreover, the Council regularly meets to evaluate the effectiveness of the programs and ensure that educational institutions where student recipients are enrolled maintain high standards of education. Section 15, which is the appropriations. In 1989, the Department of Education, Cultures and Sports budget was reduced based on Section 15 of the Appropriations Act. This reduction aimed to fund the requirements of the Act. The Act specifies several sources from which any deficiencies could be taken, including coconut levies, travel tax, and airport departure tax collections, funds collected by the Sugar Regulatory Administration or the Philippine Coconut Authority, net income of the Development Bank of the Philippines, portions of the Overseas Welfare Fund, and other lump sum appropriations or collections under the Office of the President control. The Act limited the total available amount for implementation in 1989 to 500 million pesos. Subsequent years' funding would be determined in the Annual General Appropriations Act. Section 16, which is the penalties. The Department of Education, Cultures and Sport, or also known as DEX, has the power to stop schools from taking part in the programs if they break the rules set out in this Act or related regulations. If a school doesn't provide audited financial statements before raising tuition fees, they may not be allowed to increase fees and could face other punishments. Section 17, Repealing Clause. In Section 17, the repealing clause states that all laws and decrees, specifically Presidential Decree Number 932 and 1371, as well as any letters of instructions, rules, regulations, or parts thereof that are not in line with the provision of this Act are repealed or modified accordingly. Section 18, Separability Clause. This section, known as the Separability Clause, ensures that if any part of this Act is deemed unconstitutional, it would impact the validity and effectiveness of the other unaffected provisions. In other words, if one part of this Act is found to be unconstitutional, it does not invalidate the entire Act. Section 19, Effectivity Clause. Its effectiveness commences immediately upon its publication in an English newspaper and a Filipino newspaper, both of which should have a wide readership. In summarization, Republic Act 6728 provides financial assistance to students and teachers in private educational institutions. It aims to promote equal access to quality education by supporting deserving students and teachers who may not have the means to afford private education. This act serves as a significant step towards improving the accessibility and affordability of education in the Philippines. Okay, that's all for the Republic Act 6728. I hope you understand the discussion, class, and please prepare yourself to learn more about the other laws. Thank you for listening.
Good day, class! Are you now ready for another interesting and exciting lesson? But before we begin, I want to hear your guess of what is our lesson today. Okay? Thank you! So our lesson for today is all about RA 8545, or known as Expanded Government Assistance to Students and Teachers in Private Education Act. It is an act enacted to provide government assistance to students and teachers in private and education in recognition of the government's constitutional mandate to maintain a system of grants, subsidies, and incentives to students in both public and private. Basically, RA 8545 improves the criteria for assistance, increases tuition fees supplements, expand scholarship grants, and extend assistance provided to private school teachers through in-service training and teacher subsidy funds. This was enacted at the time of President Fidel V. Ramos, and it is an act amending to RA 6724, known as an act providing government assistance to students and teachers in private education and appropriating funds. So RA 8545 has 20 sections. Section 1 is the title. This act shall be known as Expanded Government Assistance to Students and Teachers in Private Education Act. Section 2 is the declaration of this policy. It is a declared policy of the state in conformity with the mandate of the Constitution to promote and make quality accessible to all Filipino citizens. The state also hereby recognizes the complementary roles of public and private educational institutions in the educational systems and the invaluable contribution that the private schools have made and will make to education. Basically, the state task is to enhance the private education quality by maximizing resources, prioritizing basic elementary and secondary education, post-secondary vocational and technical education, and higher education over other government functions. Section 3 is the criteria for assistance. The programs for assistance shall be based on a set of criteria. The criteria include tuition fees charged by the schools, socioeconomic needs of each region giving priority to the SRA provinces, or known as Social Reform Agenda, overall performance of the schools, academic qualifications, financial needs of teachers and students, financial needs of the school, and lastly is the geographic spread and size of the student population. So basically, Section 3 entails the private education student financial assistance program requires students grantees to enroll in accredited schools within a reasonable time. Preference is given to students with a family income of 72,000 pesos or less. The program extends assistance to students and teachers of private post-secondary vocational and technical institutions and higher educational institutions as well as community colleges in degree and non-degree. The program encourages students to pursue post-secondary students, vocational and technical courses in their home region. Section 4 is the forms of assistance. Assistance to private education shall consist of assistance to students and assistance to teachers. So posted in the screens are the assistance for the students. First is the tuition fee supplements for students in private high schools, including students in vocational and technical courses. Second is the High School Textbook Assistance Fund. Third is the expansion of the existing educational services contracting scheme. Fourth is the voucher system of the Private Education Student Financial Assistance Program, or known as PESFA. Fifth is the scholarship grants to students graduating as valedictorians and salutatorians from secondary schools. Sixth is the tuition fee supplements to students in private colleges and university. And lastly is the education loan fund. Posted in the screens are the assistants for the teachers. First is in-service training fund for teachers in private high schools, and second is the college faculty development fund. Section 5 is the tuition fee supplement for students in private high school. First is the government shall reimburse the vouchers from the schools concerned within 120 days from the close of the registration period. The State Assistance Council may in subsequent years determine additional slots and or additional participating high school as may be deemed necessary. Section 6 is the High School Textbook Assistance Fund. There shall be established in the Department of Education, Culture, and Sports, or known as DEX, a High School Textbook Assistance Fund, so that assistance on a per-student basis shall be given to students enrolled in public schools exclusively for the purchase of high school textbooks in support of the implementation of the Secondary Education Development Program, provided that the cultural or the council determines private high school textbooks assistance, which is limited to public schools, and is also granted to those benefited from tuition fee supplements and educational service contracting schemes. Section 7 is the expansion of the existing educational service contracting scheme, or known as the ESC scheme. First is the Department of Education, Culture, and Sports, or known as DEX, shall continue to enter into contracts with private schools whereby the government shall shoulder the tuition and other fees of high school students who shall enroll in private high school under this program. Second is the department shall also enter into contracts with private schools in communities where there are no public high schools, in which the case of the department shall shoulder the tuition and other fees, who shall enroll in the private schools. Third is the amount of assistance to be given by the government under this section shall not exceed the determined as the per student cost in public high schools. And lastly, the department shall fully pay the subsidized amount to participating schools not later than 180 days from the close of the registration period. E is the amount of assistance shall be allocated and distributed among the 16 regions in proportion to the total population as well as the high school age population for the first school year. F is the amount of assistance to private high schools participating the program shall be granted for a number of slots and as of the effectivity of these acts as the number of students availing of educational service contracting assistance for school year 1997 to 1998. Section 8 is the assistance to college freshmen. The voucher system of Private Education Student Financial Assistance, or known as the PESFA program. The existing PESFA, which covers degree and non-degree vocational or technical courses, shall be expanded so that all qualified enrolling first-year students can benefit from a scholarship plus an allowance. An unprivileged student shall refer to a student whose gross income, if any, and of the combined annual gross income of his or her parents do not exceed 72,000 pesos. B is the tuition waiver. Private post-secondary vocational and technical institutions and higher educational institutions shall provide for full or half tuition waivers for 5% of the entering freshmen, which shall include among others, valedictorians and salutatorians of both public and private high schools. C is the valedictorians can receive government allowances in addition to tuition's waiver from their school, provided they enroll in priority courses. And lastly is the allowance for other honorees. If the graduating class has over 250 students, salutatorians, and first honorable mentions, graduate may also receive the allowance granted to valedictorians. Section 9 is the further assistance to students in private colleges and universities. Tuition fee supplements for students of private post-secondary vocational and technical institutions and higher educational institutions enrolled in priority courses determined by the TESDA and the CHED shall be provided by the government through a voucher system. In the following manner that the government will provide a voucher from tuition fee supplement to priority students in schools with the per unit tuition rate determined by the State Assistance Council. Section 10 is the Education Loan Fund. First is the Study Now, Pay Later plan. It is a special fund administered by CHED and TESDA. It's were instituted to finance educational loans for matriculation, school fees, book subsistence, board and lodging as per Republic Act number 6014. B is the amounts covering payments for tuition and other school fees shall be paid directly to the school concerned. C is the loans guaranteed under this section are paid by the student debtor after completing the course or profession for which the loan proceeds were expended, but only after 2 years of employment. D is the Social Security Fund. The Social Security system will provide low-interest educational loans to its members and private institutions for school building improvements and plant and facility improvements. Section 11. The right of any student to avail himself of the benefits under this Act shall not apply if he or she fails for one school year in the majority of the academic subjects in which he or she has enrolled during the course of his or her studies unless such failure is due to some valid cause beyond his or her control. Section 12 is In-Service Training Fund or the INSET Fund. The Department of Education, Culture, and Sports has established an INSET Fund to enhance teaching quality in private secondary education by upgrading knowledge and competencies, modernizing teaching techniques, and providing training in computers and multimedia technologies. Provided further that the amount of INSET Fund available to private secondary education shall not exceed that available to public secondary education as a capital per basis. Section 13. College Faculty Development Fund. The College Faculty Development Fund, established by TESDA and CHED, aims to enhance teaching quality in private post-secondary vocational and technical institution by providing scholarships for graduate and non-degree workshops, provided that the faculty members receiving scholarship must serve as many years of return service per year, following NEDA policies. Scholarships must be in priority courses and cannot promote sectarian purposes. Section 14 is the Teacher Salary Subsidy Fund. The DEX has established a Teacher Salary Subsidy Fund to provide government subsidies to private high school teachers participating in assistance programs. The subsidy must not exceed 80% of the public sector counterparts' monthly salary and must not exceed any salary increase they will receive after the Act's effectivity. Provided that the government will provide a voucher for salary subsidies to teachers, which will be reimbursed within 60 days of the school year's end, with priority given to married teachers supporting families in case of insufficient funds. Section 15 is the Program Administration or Rules and Regulations. The State Assistance Council oversees policy guidance, program monitoring and regulations, while the Department of Education, Culture, Sports, TESDA and CHED manage private secondary education, post-secondary vocational and technical education, and higher education programs involving qualified government or private entities. Section 16 is the appropriations. The amount needed to implement these programs shall be provided for in the Annual General Appropriations Act for the year 1998. The appropriation of 1 billion pesos already appropriated under the General Appropriations Act of 1998 shall be used for this purpose. Section 16 contains that all funds appropriated for this purpose shall be constituted as a trust funds to be administered by the State Assistance Council, which shall be directly and automatically released to the different regional offices of the DEX. Section 17 is the penalties. The Department of Education, Culture, and Sports, TESDA can, upon Council recommendation, bar an institution from participating in or benefiting from programs under this Act or its release-related rules, without prejudice to administered and criminal charges against the school and its officers under existing laws. Section 17 contains, or in other words, the DEX, TESDA, and SHED may bar an institution from participating in or benefiting from programs if violations occur without prejudice to administrative and criminal charges. Section 18 is the repealing clause. All laws and decrees, particularly Presidential Decrees number 932 and 1371, and such letters of instructions, rules, and regulations or parts thereof which are inconsistent with this Act are hereby repealed or modified accordingly. Section 19 is the separability clause. If any provision of this Act is declared unconstitutional, the same shall not affect the validity and effectivity of the other provisions not affected thereby. Section 20 is the effectivity clause. This Act shall take effect immediately upon its publication in English in an English newspaper and in Filipino in a Filipino newspaper, both of general circulation, provided that the new assistance programs under this Act will be implemented in the school year of the following fiscal year after the necessary appropriateness are approved into law. Section 2, Effectivity Clause. This Act shall take the effect immediately upon its publication.
Since you already learn and understand the Module 6, Lesson 1, which are the Republic Act number 6728 and Republic Act number 8545, now I will assess your learnings by having this activity called Perfect Duo. As you can see here, there are 4 choices in the box. You will choose one answer to the corresponding statement that I will be given. Just raise your hand if you want to answer. Okay, let's start. Number 1. It is also known as the Government Assistance to Students and Teachers in Private Education Act. Yes, Mariel, what is your answer? Correct. It is Republic Act 6728. Second one. It is an act amending Republic Act number 6724, otherwise known as an act providing government assistance to students and teachers in private education and appropriating funds. Okay, May Queen, what is your answer? Very good. It is Republic Act number 8545. Number 3. It is also known as Expanded Government Assistance to Students and Teachers in Private Education Act. Yes, April? Correct. It is Republic Act number 8545. Number 4. In what administration did Republic Act 6728 was enacted? Yes, Marian? Yes, very good. It is President Corazon P. Aquino. How about number 5? In what administration was Republic Act number 8545 enacted? Yes, Natalie? Correct. It is President Fidel V. Ramos. That would be all in our activity. Thank you, class, for listening and participating in the class. Good job, everyone. And now please prepare yourself to learn more in the next lesson.
Good day, everyone. So my name is Crisel Miro Fuentes, and today I'll be your reporters for today's discussion, alongside with my co-reporters Aspirin Desiree and Redoble Aiza. So we'll discuss the Lesson 2, the Republic Act 9710, the Republic Act 9262, the Republic Act number 7877. So our main objectives for this lesson is that we'll determine what's right and protections are granted for women and children under Philippine laws, and discuss the significant roles of schools in upholding the rights of women and children. So, for my report, the RA 9710, or we also known as the Magna Carta of Women, is a comprehensive human right law that promotes women empowerment, calls for equal opportunities for men and women, and ensures equal access to resources to develop results and outcome in the Philippines. So, what is Republic 9710? So, Republic Act number 9710, or the Magna Carta of Women, is an act which is a constellation of Senate Bill number 2396 and House Bill number 4273. It was passed by the Senate and the House of Representatives on May 19, 2009 and May 20, 2009, respectively. So, it was signed into law by President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo on August 14, 2009. So this law strengthens further the various existing laws and policies that empower and protect women and ensures equal rights and opportunities for men and women. So what is discrimination against women? So based on Magna Carta of Women, it defines as any gender bias, distinction, exclusion, or restriction which has the effect or purpose of impairing or nullifying the recognition, enjoyment, or exercises by women, irrespective of marital status, on a basis of equality of men and women, of human rights and fundamental freedoms in the political, economic, social, civil, cultural, or any other field. So, sa ilalim ng Magna Carta of Women or the RA 9710 ng Pilipinas, ay garantisado ang mga sumusunod na aking sasabihin. Una, ay pantay na trato sa empleyo. Bawal ang anumang uri ng diskriminasyon sa trabaho batay sa kasarian. Dapat pantay ang babae at lalaki sa hiring, recruitment, promosyon at iba pang aspeto ng employee para sa mga kababaihan. Pangalawa ay proteksyon laban sa karahasan. Ipinagbabawal ang anumang uri ng karahasan at nakaugat sa kasarian, kabilang ang domestic violence, sexual harassment, at iba pang anyo ng pang-aabuso. May probisyon ang batas para sa agarang proteksyon at tulong sa mga biktima. Pangatlo ay pantay na edukasyon. Inaasahan ang pantay-pantay na oportunidad sa edukasyon para sa mga kababaihan. At kinikilala ang kanilang karapatan na maging bahagi ng lahat ng antas ng edukasyon nang hindi mahaharap ang diskriminasyon. Pang-apat ay serbisyo sa pangkalusugan. Dapat magkaroon ng akses ang mga kababaihan sa kumpletong serbisyong pangkalusugan nang hindi mahaharap ang diskriminasyon. At panghuli ay partisipasyon sa pampulitika. Inaatasan ang pantay na representasyon ng mga kababaihan sa larangan ng politika. Dapat mayroon silang espasyo at oportunidad sa political at decision making. So, the Magna Carta of Women also spells out every woman's right to. First is that the Magna Carta of Women outlines the rights of every woman, including protection from all forms of violence, protection during disaster and crises, equal participation in civil service, development councils, planning bodies, political parties, and international bodies. Second is that it also advocates for equal treatment before the law, eliminating discrimination in education, scholarships and training, and ensuring equal participation in sports. The third one is that the Magna Carta also promotes non-discrimination in employment in military, police, and similar services, providing equal promotion, privileges, and opportunities for women. Women are granted the same capacity to act in and enter into contracts, including marriage, and are entitled to leave benefits such as maternity leave. The fourth one is that the Magna Carta also promotes non-discriminatory portrayal of women in media and film, raising public awareness about their dignity and contributions. It provides comprehensive health service and information covering all stages of a woman's life cycle, addressing major causes of women's mortality and morbidity. And the fifth one is that for women employees who undergo surgery caused by gynecological disorders, they receive leave benefits of 2 months, with full pay based on gross monthly compensation. The Magna Carta also guarantees equal rights in marriage and family relations, ensuring the same rights for both men and women. It also states that the betrothal and marriage of a child shall have no legal effect. The Magna Carta of Women also guarantees the civil, political, and economic rights of women in the marginalized sectors, particularly the right to that the Magna Carta of Women identifies marginalized sectors as those living in poverty, which has limited access to resources, social services, and employment opportunities. These include women from small farmers, rural workers, fisher folk, urban poor, formal and informal economy workers, migrant workers, indigenous people, Moro, children, senior citizens, disabled individuals, and solo parents. So, how can Filipino women living abroad benefit from this kind of law? So let me answer that question. So according to Section 37 of the Magna Carta of Women, mandates that the establishment of a gender focal point in Philippine embassies consulates trained in gender and development to address gender concerns of women migrant workers, particularly those in distress. Other agencies, such as Labor and Employment and Social Welfare and Development, are also required to collaborate on strengthen foreign posts services for women migrant workers, aligning with one country team approaching in foreign service. So, if you violate the Magna Carta of Women, the violations of the Magna Carta can result in penalties for government agencies, local government, and individuals. Government agencies and their heads are held liable under the Magna Carta of Women. Aggravating offenses involve state agents, while private entities or individuals are liable for damages. Offended parties can pursue other remedies and invoke existing laws, particularly those protecting women's rights. So, how can we advance women's rights and teachers' rights by utilizing the Magna Carta of Women? So, to advance women's and teachers' rights, we educate students and the public on the Magna Carta of Women, lobby school administrators for a gender audit, will initiate gender sensitivity trainings, involve in the gender focal points, revise gender stereotypes in curriculum and textbooks, and regularly assess process in mainstreaming gender in the curriculum, policies, and communities. So, The next topic will be reported by my co-reporters Asperin and Redoble. That's all for my report, and thank you.
Good day everyone! Today, let us talk about RA 9262 o yung tinatawag nilang Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004. It was enacted on March 8, 2004 and it was approved by the Senate of the Philippines on February 3, 2004 and by the House of the Representatives on February 9, 2004. It was signed into law by President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo on March 8, 2004. And it took 15 days after its publication in the official gazette on March 19, 2004. So what is the definition of violence against women and their children in Section 3 of 9262? This act is a vital tool in the fight against women and children, and it provides a comprehensive framework for preventing and addressing violence, and it has made a significant contribution to the safety and well-being of women and children here in the Philippines. It refers to anyone performing any act against a woman or against her child, and the said woman is the wife, former wife, or they had a former dating or sexual relationship that could result or may likely result in physical, sexual, or psychological violence and economic abuse. So what is a dating relationship? In a dating relationship, you could be in a live-in relationship or you could be a couple or the so-called boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. And the said relationship is serious and carried over a period of time. So what is a sexual relationship? As long as you had sex even once, that is considered a sexual relationship. Now, it is required that a sexual act be between a man and a woman. Actually, any activity that can be understood as a sexual act can be considered a sexual relationship. So what are the acts being punished by the RA 9262? There are 4 acts punished by RA 9262, which is the physical violence, sexual violence, psychological violence, and economic abuse. Physical violence, first and foremost, you harmed, attempted to harm, or you threatened to harm, or you threatened to attempt to harm, or you place her or her child in a situation where they can be harmed. If you harm either of them, that is domestic violence, and you can now be charged for violating RA 9262. So what are the acts that are considered as sexual violence? Rape, acts of lasciviousness, or any other lewd conduct, or you touch her in a sensitive area, those kinds of acts considered as sexual violence. If the act is uninvited or you force her into this act, then that is sexual violence. Included in the acts considered as sexual violence are you perform any lewd act against the victim. Like for example, you gave someone a middle finger sign. If she took offense and it was uninvited, then that is sexual violence. It is a shortcut to understand psychological violence. When you perform an act or intentionally did not perform an act that will cause or is likely to cause mental or emotional suffering to a woman or a child, that is a psychological violence. It covers a lot of acts. Truth be told, psychological violence is a tricky subject. If she experienced or anything you did that caused her emotion or psychological suffering, or yung tinatawag natin pagdurusa, that can already be considered psychological violence. It can be anything like for example, you cheated on her isang beses lang. If that caused her emotional or mental suffering, that is already psychological violence. But if you cheated on her but it did not cause emotional or mental suffering, then it cannot be considered psychological violence. Do take note wherever you are, as long as the victim is in the Philippines, the moment you cause her emotional and mental suffering, the case for psychological violence could still be filed here in the Philippines. So what is economic abuse in RA 9262? The accused in economic abuse did something or intentionally failed to do something, tapos the end goal of making the women financially dependent on him. Like for example, financially support. The accused intentionally withdraw financial support. If you will notice in Section 5 of RA 9262, the withdrawal of financial support could either result in psychological violence or economic abuse. So what is the difference between the two? If the withdrawal of financial support resulted emotional or mental anguish of the woman, then the case that you will file will be based on the psychological violence and not based on economic abuse. But you can file both at the same time. On the other hand, as long as you withdraw financial support, then that qualifies as economic abuse, but there is a catch. There is a concept in family law that stating financial support is limited to the ability to provide it, which means that if the father is not employed at the same time you demanded financial support from him and he has not have the ability to provide it, then your case for economic abuse will not prosper, simply because he has no ability to provide financial support because he is unemployed. There is an outlined penalties in Section 6 for offenses related to violence against women and their children. The penalties may include imprisonment and fines, depending on the severity of the violation. The individuals punished are those found guilty of committing acts of violence covered by the law, such as physical, sexual, or psychological abuse against women and their children. The penalties aim to deter and address such offenses, providing legal consequences for those who engage in violence. Under Republic Act of 9262, schools play significant roles in upholding the rights of women and children. Schools are crucial in raising awareness about the law, promoting gender sensitivity, and fostering a safe and supportive environment. The school can educate on RA 9262, promote gender sensitivity, provide support services, reporting mechanism, and collaborate with authorities. By actively participating in the implementation of RA 9262, schools contribute to creating an environment that upholds the rights of women and children, and it works towards preventing and addressing violence.
Before I discuss the other law or the other Republic Act, we will have first the activity, and I have here the graphic organizer, and you will be list the common forms of violence that are experienced by women and children in the Philippines. I will give you 5 minutes to answer it, and afterwards, we will be asking some students a question. The first question is, what are the most common forms of violence experienced by women in the Philippines? Anyone? Yes, Sarah? Correct. So the most common forms are rape, domestic violence, stalking, sexual harassment, human trafficking, forced prostitution, state violence, and female genital mutilation. Number 2. What are some of the things that can be done to prevent violence against women and children? Okay, Joshua? Correct. So I have here 4 things to prevent violence against women and children. First is educate children and adults on gender equality and respect for all people. Next is create and enforce comprehensive laws that protect women and children from violence. Number 3, develop and fund programs that provide resources such as counseling, legal aid, and housing and job assistance to those affected by violence. And lastly, create safe spaces for women and children to access support and seek help. Last question, number 3. What can you do to help a friend or family member who is experiencing violence? Okay, Mayor? Correct. The most important thing you can do to help a friend or a family member who is experiencing violence is to listen to them, provide emotional support, and help them access available resources such as calling the police or hotline for help. Thank you for participating. Now we will proceed to our discussion about Republic Act number 7877 or the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995. Good morning, class. So our next topic would be the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995 or the RA 7877. It is a governing law for work, education, or training-related sexual harassment. RA 7877 states that work, education,
or training-related sexual harassment is committed by a person who is having authority, influence, or moral ascendancy over another in a work, training, or education environment that demands, requests, or otherwise requires any sexual favor from the other, regardless of whether it is for the submission, is accepted by the object of said act. In other words, if a person commits a sexual favor from the other, he or she against the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995. How is work-related sexual harassment committed? Work-related sexual harassment is committed when the sexual favor is made as a condition in the hiring or in the employment, re-employment, or continued employment of said individual, or in granting said individual favorable compensation, terms, conditions, promotions, or privileges. Refusal to grant the sexual favor results in limiting, segregating, or classifying the employee which in any way would discriminate, deprive, or diminish employment opportunities or otherwise adversely affect said employee. For example, you work in a big company and then your male boss sexually harasses you and tells you that he will increase your salary and condition to have a relationship with him. So, the act would impair the employee's rights or privileges under existing labor laws, or it would result in an intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment for the employee. How is education or training-related sexual harassment committed? Education or training-related sexual harassment is committed first when the sexual favor is made a condition to the giving of a passing grade or granting of honors and scholarships or the payment of a stipend, allowance, or other benefits, privileges, or considerations. Second, when the sexual advances result in an intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment for the student, trainee, or apprentice. What is the duty of the employer of head of office ng work or education or training environment? Promulgate appropriate rules and regulations in consultation with and jointly approved by the employees or student or trainees through their duly designated representatives. Said rules and regulations shall prescribe the procedures for the investigation of sexual harassment cases and the administrative sanctions thereof. The said rules and regulations should include guidelines on proper decorum in a workplace and education or training institutions. Administrative sanctions shall not be a bar to prosecution in the proper courts for unlawful acts of sexual harassment. Next, create a Committee on Decorum and Investigation, or CODI, of cases on sexual harassment. The committee shall conduct meetings or as the case may be with officers and employees, teachers, instructors, professors, coaches, trainers, and students or trainees to increase understanding and prevent incidents of sexual harassment. It shall also conduct the investigation of alleged cases constituting sexual harassment. In the case of work-related environment, the committee shall be composed of at least one representative each from the management, the union, if any, the employees from the supervisory rank, and from the rank and file employees. In the case of the educational or training institution, the committee shall be composed of at least one representative from the administration, the trainers, teachers, instructors, professors, or coaches, and students and trainees as the case may be. The employer of head of office, educational or training institution should disseminate or post a copy of RA 7877 for the information of all concerned. What are the penalties for offenders? Any person who violates the provision of the law should be penalized by imprisonment of not less than 1 month nor more than 6 months, or a fine of not less than 10,000 pesos nor more than 20,000 pesos, or both such fine and imprisonment at the discretion of the court. Next, any act arising from the violation of the provisions of this act shall prescribe in 3 years. Where do we go for help? For government sector employees, Civil Service Commission. For private sector employees, Department of Labor and Employment, Philippine National Police, National Bureau of Investigation, and Department of Justice, Public Attorney's Office or DOJ PAO. Thank you for listening. That ends our topic and lesson 2.
Good day, class. I am Karel Emadaro, your teacher for today. Before proceeding to discussion proper of lesson 3, let's have first an activity entitled brainstorming. In this activity, you will be grouped by table. So here, 2 scenarios will be given. Afterwards, you will assign 1 members of the group to present your answers. You only have 5 minutes to brainstorm and share your ideas in a group. Is that clear? Your 5 minutes starts now. Are you all done? Now, I will be calling tables to present your answer. So, table number 1, please present your answer in the scenario number 1. Thank you for that. Next, table 2, please present your answer. Okay. Next, table 3. Okay, thank you. Next, table 4. Thank you. And last table, table 5, please present your answer. Okay, thank you. So indeed, if an applicant really wants the position, as early as possible, he or she should have passed those requirements needed. Also, Maria should explore alternative solutions before resulting to legal actions. This could involve communicating directly with the DepEd or the screening committee to seek clarification on the decision and explore if there are any possibilities of reconsideration. Now, let's proceed to the scenario 2. Table number 1, please present your answer in the scenario 2. Thank you, table number 1. Next, table number 2, please present your answer. Okay, thank you. Next, table number 3. Okay, thank you for that. Next, table number 4. Okay, very good. Last table, table number 5, please present your answer. Okay, very good. All your answers are correct. In scenario number 2, Mr. Castro should have implement and possess fair and equal treatment to all of the applicants in accordance to his job on being very professional and avoid being biased. As a member of the screening committee, he should prioritize the best interests of the applicants and the education system rather than personal favors. Using his position to favor someone based on personal reason is abuse of power and goes against the principle of transparency and fairness. Okay, much more of this. Thank you for participating. So now, let's proceed to the discussion proper. So, our learning outcomes. At the end of the lesson, the pre-service teachers can explain how a teacher becomes a qualified applicant under the localization law and discuss the sanctions for violating the provisions of the localization law. So, Republic Act number 8190 or localization law was passed into during the term of President Fidel V. Ramos and Brother Armin A. Luistro as Secretary of the Department of Education. So, what is this act all about? This is an act granting priority to residents of the barangay, municipality, or city where the school is located in the appointment or assignment of classroom public school teachers. So, this law is applicable to all public school teachers, especially those who are still applying for the Teacher 1 position. It gives an opportunity for the teacher applicant to be assigned in the residence or in the near barangay. Also, this law explains how a teacher could become a qualified applicant if there is a vacant teaching position. The Republic Act 8190 has amended implementing rules and regulations by the DepEd Order Number 3 Series of 2013. In this amendment, there are several sections which compose of the rules and an applicant should follow. Now, let's proceed to the section 1, which is the definition of terms. We are going to discuss first different words that we are going to tackle in this law. So first is the teachers. Refers to a person who meets the minimum requirements for the position as required by law and the standards set by the department who does actual teaching in the classroom and other learning centers. Next is the applicant. Refers to a person who holds a valid certificate of registration or professional license for teacher from the Professional Regulation Commission or the PRC, seeking to be appointed to as a Teacher 1 position. So if you are a graduate of a Bachelor of Education or any education course, the first thing you need to do is to pass the licensure exam to be able to get the PRC license, because it is the basic requirement for application to the Teacher 1 position. So next is qualified applicants. Refers to a person who meets the evaluation and selection criteria as prescribed by the Department of Education and who is in the registry of the school division and is bona fide resident. So there is a difference when we say applicant and qualified applicant. When we say applicant, you have the basic requirement like the PRC license or any documents that proves that you are an applicant. But when we say qualified applicant, you already met the evaluation prescribed by the DepEd. Next is the bona fide resident. Refers to a qualified applicant who is, prior to appointment, resident for a period at least 6 months of a particular barangay, municipality, city, or province where the school is located, as evidenced by legal documents determined by the department. Meaning, if you are not a resident in that barangay, municipality, city, or province for at least 6 months, then there is a possibility that you cannot be catered in this law. And if you are at least 6 months resident, your barangay captain can give you a barangay clearance, which will serve as a proof that you are residing in that particular area. So next is the secretary. Refers to the Department of Education secretary. So our present secretary is Sara Duterte, which is also the vice president in our country. So next word is regional director. Refers to the Department of Education regional director. And next is protest. Refers to the administrative complaint filed by an aggrieved applicant or complainant regarding an appointment or assignment as a Teacher 1 made by an appointing or assigning authority or the respondent. So if you found any discrepancy, then you may file a protest or a complaint with due process. Next is appointment. Refers to the issuance of original appointment of teachers. So the next word is assignment. Refers to the posting of teachers in public school or other learning center. And the last for this section is the registry. Refers to the official list of qualified applicants in the school's division. Moving on to the section 2, which is the coverage of this law. It states that these rules and regulations shall apply to appointment or assignment of teachers in all public schools and other learning centers under the Department of Education. So knowing this, it's very helpful, especially those who are still applying for the Teacher 1 position. Also, it helps us to know what are the things need to do to be able to get the position. So let's move to the section 3, which is the filing up of vacant positions. In the appointment or assignment of teachers to public schools and other learning centers with vacant teaching position, priority shall be given to bona fide residents of the barangay, municipality, city, or province where the school is located in no particular order, provided that the teachers possesses all the qualifications for the position as required by law and DepEd orders, and provided further that among the bona fide residents of the barangay, municipality, city, or province where the school or learning center is located, the most qualified shall be given priority. Stated in this section, if you are a bona fide resident of a particular barangay, then you will be the priority of filing up the vacant position provided that the applicant possesses all the qualifications for the position. Next is Section 4, Recruitment and Selection Process. Upon approval of these rules and regulations, applicants who are interested in being appointed or assigned to public elementary or secondary schools and other learning centers located in the place where they are bona fide residents may send their written applications together with the necessary documents to the school head concerned, who shall verify and certify as to the correctness and authenticity of the documents submitted, including the proof of place of residence. The school head in turn shall forward the applications to the office of the school's division superintendent. The division office shall maintain a registry which shall be valid for a period of one school year. Also, the superintendent shall appoint or assign a teacher. The Secretary of Education shall issue guidelines on the hiring of teachers that shall be consistent with RA 8190 and the implementation rules and regulations. So, a bona fide resident may submit their application to the school head. Then the school head will be the one to verify in accordance to the authenticity of the documents. Also, school head is the one who forward application to the office of schools division superintendent. After this, there might be a scheduled demonstration or examination, or perhaps the interview in order to complete the selection process. So, that is how the recruitment and selection process happened based on this law. Okay, let's proceed to the Section 5, which is the protest procedures for violations of RA 8190. Stated that aggrieved applicants in the registry of the schools division may file a protest. The protest, which shall be subscribed and sworn to in a form of letter complaint in 3 copies, shall be filed at the regional office within 90 days from the issuance of the appointment. The regional director shall, within 72 hours upon receipt of the protest, require the school's division superintendent to answer the allegation in the protest within 15 days, furnishing the protestant a copy thereof. So, as mentioned earlier, if you found a discrepancy, then you may file a protest or a complaint with a due process. So, the first you need to do is to submit a letter complaint composed of 3 copies, and after this, the regional director will require the SDS or the school's division superintendent to answer the allegation. So, the regional director's decision may be appealed to the DepEd secretary within 15 days upon receipt thereof. Any appeal on the decision of the secretary shall be filed with the Civil Service Commission. So, after the SDS have answered the allegation, the complaint will be passed to the DepEd secretary, and it would be depend on the DepEd secretary's decision. So, a protest shall not render an appointment ineffective nor bar the approval thereof by appointing authority, but the approval shall be subject to the final outcome of the protest. So now, let's proceed to the Section 6, which is the sanctions. Any person found guilty of violating any of the provisions of RA 8190 and these implementing rules and regulations, or any part hereof, shall charge administratively pursuant to RA 6713, otherwise known as the Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards for Public Officials and Employees, and other relevant laws, rules, and regulations. Administrative sanctions of any violations of RA 8190 and its implementing rules and regulations shall be imposed as follows. First violation, suspension of 1 month without pay. Second violation, suspension of 2 months without pay. Third violation and subsequent violation, suspensions for 6 months without pay. So if anyone violating this law, especially the teachers, SDS, or even an applicant, shall be charged in the said set of violations. So let's move to the Section 7. the separability clause. This states that should any provision of this IRR be subsequently declared invalid or unconstitutional, the same shall not affect the validity and effectivity of the other provisions. This means that any sections stated in IRR or any provisions that is declared as invalid, it will be omitted or it will be deleted from this law. Let's move to the section 8, which is the repealing clause. Under this section is the rules, regulations, and issuances which are inconsistent with these rules are hereby repealed, rescinded, or amended accordingly. In this part, there are inconsistent sections before that were corrected because probably it violates the rules in this law. And lastly, the section 9, the effectivity, stated that these rules and regulations shall take effect 15 days after its publication in the official gazette or in at least one newspaper of general circulation. So any law that would be in public will be published to the official newspaper after the law would take effect. Okay, that's all for the localization law or the RA number 8190. Thank you for listening, and I hope that everybody have understand and learned about my discussion. That's all for the lesson 3.
Before we proceed to our topic, Lesson 4, Republic Act Number 8419, Flag and Heraldic Code of the Philippines, let's first do the activity, which is discussion forum. In this activity, student will be presented with two pictures, Pictures A and Pictures B, related to Republic Act Number 8419, Flag and Heraldic Code of the Philippines. Afterwards, I will be calling some students to share their opinions and ideas towards the given picture. I will only give 5 minutes to do your activity, and your time start now. Your time is up now. Now, I will choose 5 students to share their opinion or ideas towards the given two pictures related to Republic Act Number 8491, Flag and Heraldic Code of the Philippines. First, let me call on Jacel. What is your opinion or idea towards the given picture A related to Republic Act Number 8491, Flag and Heraldic Code of the Philippines? Thank you, Jacel, for sharing your idea. Also, let me hear the other idea of Desiree about her insight in the picture A. Same question as Jacel. Thank you, Desiree. In conclusion, their answer is right. We all see that in picture A, it shows about what they do about the Philippine flag, that they burn the flag, therefore, they do is right. Because according to the Republic Act Number 8491, Flag and Heraldic Code of the Philippines, Section 14, a flag worn out through wear and tear shall not be thrown away. It shall be solemnly borne to avoid misuse or desecration. The flag shall be replaced immediately when it begins to show signs of wear and tear. So now, let's proceed to picture B. Let me call on April. April, what is your opinion or ideas towards the given picture B related to Republic Act Number 8491, Flag and Heraldic Code of the Philippines? Thank you, April, for sharing your idea. Second, let me call on Lennox. Lennox, what is your opinion towards the picture B? Thank you, Lennox, for sharing your ideas. Lastly, students that I will call is Sarah Joy. The question is same as Lennox and April. Thank you, Sarah, for sharing your idea. In conclusion, all your answer is correct. This given picture B shows that the students sweeping the Philippine flag on the floor obviously show disrespect toward our nation and its people. The Republic Act 8491 Section 24 states that the flag may be used to cover the casket of the honored dead of military, veterans of previous wars, national artists, and of civilians who have rendered distinguished service to the nation, as may be determined by the local government unit concerned. In such cases, the flag shall be placed such that the white triangle shall be at the head and the blue portion shall be covered right side of the casket. The flag shall not be lowered to the grave or allowed to touch the ground, but shall be folded solemnly and handed over to the heir of the deceased. Thank you, class, for cooperating this activity, and congrats, job well done. Good morning, class. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Gretchen M. Pablo, your teacher for this given topic, the Republic Act No. 8491, Flag and Heraldic Code of the Philippines. Before we proceed to our main topic, let me read the learning objective. At the end of the lesson, the pre-service teacher, PST, can explore the provision of Republic Act No. 8491 or the Flag and Heraldic Code of the Philippines and discuss how one can contribute in the enforcement of the law. I know all of you already tired watching and listening because we are in online mode, but I hope all of you are still watching and focused while I'm discussing these lessons. Today, we'll explore Republic Act No. 8491, which guides us in respecting our national symbols. What is Republic Act No. 8491? This law establishes rules for displaying national symbols to preserve their dignity. The amendment of Republic Act No. 8491, which governs the code of heraldic items and devices in the Philippines, aim to strengthen patriotism and emphasize the significance of adhering and to establish norms in expressing respect of our national symbols. By refining the regulations surrounding heraldic elements, the intention is to foster a deeper sense of love for the country and promote a unified understanding of the proper usage and display of these symbols, enforcing a shared national identity. So now, let's proceed to the 8th chapter of the Republic Act 8491, Flag and Heraldic Code of the Philippines. The chapter 1 is the national flag. The national flag is a symbolic or representation of a country and its identity. In the national flag, there is 8 parts. The first one is the design. The design of the national flag, according to Section 4, the national flag of the Philippines consists of blue, white, red, and horizontal stripes. It features an 8-rayed golden yellow sun at the center, symbolizing patriotism and unity. Additionally, 3 5-pointed stars represent the 3 main geographical dimensions of the country: Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. The design holds cultural and historical significance, reflecting the values and identity of the Filipino people. Second is hosting and displaying of the national flag. In the Section 5, the national flag of the Philippines is mandated to display every day of the year in the public buildings, official residence, public plazas, and educational institutions, emphasizing a continuous and widespread show of national pride and identity. The third one is conduct of flag raising ceremony. In Section 18 states that government offices and educational institutions in the Philippines are required to conduct a flag raising ceremony every Monday morning and a flag lowering ceremony every Friday afternoon. These ceremonies, characterized by simplicity and dignity, include the rendition of the Philippine national anthem, fostering a sense of patriotism and unity among the participants. Fourth is half-mast. In Section 23 of Republic Act 8491, it stipulates that the national flag should be flown in half-mast on all buildings and places where it is displayed as a sign of mourning. This practice is observed on the day of the official announcement of the death of specified official as outlined in the Act. Fifth is the casket. As per in Section 24, the national flag may be used to cover the casket of military personnel, veterans, the national artists, and civilians who have rendered distinguished service to the nation. The flag, when used in this manner, should be positioned with the white triangle at the head and the blue portion covering the right side of the casket. It is important that the flag is not lowered to the grave, should not touch to the ground, and is folded solemnly, the handed over to the ear of the deceased. 6 is pledge to the flag. In Section 25, the pledge of allegiance to the Philippines flag expresses commitment to the Filipino nation, its flag, and its ideals of honor, justice, and freedom. It emphasizes the collective action of the people guided by the principle of being God-fearing, human, environmentally conscious, and patriotic. 7 is Flag Day. In Section 66 states that the Flag Days in the Philippines observed from the May 28 to June 12 annually signify a period of nation importance. During this time, government offices, business, schools, and private residents are encouraged to prominently display the national flag. This practice fosters a sense of patriotism and unity, commemorating historical events such as the declaration of Philippine Independence Day on June 12. The lastly parts of national flag is specification of national flag. In Section 27 and Section 28, the national flag of the Philippines is defined by the specific proportion and colors. Its width is 1 unit, length is 2 units, and the side of the white triangle are also 1 unit. The designated color of blue, cable number 87 3 and the white cable number 8001, red is cable number 8010-8 and golden yellow cable number 80068, ensuring the uniformity in its representation. Class, are you still there? I hope everyone are still listening while I'm discussing in front of you. So now let's proceed to chapter 2, which the national anthem. A national anthem is a patriotic song or musical composition that represent a country's identities and values. In Section 35, designate that the national anthem of the Philippines is Lupang Hinirang, while in Section 36 mandates the national anthem must be sung in the national language both within and outside the country, and specify the approved lyrics for the anthem. Next is Chapter 3, the national motto. Section 40 establishes the national motto as makadiyos, makatao, makakalikasan, at makabansa. This motto reflects key values for God, for people, for nature, and for country. It serves as a guiding principle for the citizens, emphasizing the importance of spirituality, humanity, environmental stewardship, and national loyalty. Next is Chapter 4, the National Coat of Arms. In Section 41 outlines the design elements of the National Coat of Arms, including 2 vertical sections in blue and red, a silver dyed with equidistant stars, and a central oval with a radiant sun featuring 8 minor rays. Below this design is a scroll inscribed with the words Republika ng Pilipinas. Next is Chapter 5, the Great Seal. In Section 43, state that the Great Seal is to be attached to commissions assigned by the President and the other official documents as specified by the law or customary practice. The President is entrusted with the custody of the Great Seal. Next is Chapter 3, Official Cells and Other Heraldic Items and Devices. In Section 46, mandates that the government offices, including the military, must buy heraldic items and devices only from the Institute accredited manufacturers. These items undergo inspection by the purchasing agency's internal inspector and a COA representative, following design and specification approved by the Office of the President or Congress through the Institute. Class, are you still listening? Very good. So now let's proceed to the next chapter, the chapter 7, which is penalties. Section 50 stipulates penalties for violation of the act. Individual or entities breaking the law could face a fine ranging from 5,000 to 20,000 pesos, imprisonment up to 1 year or both. For repeated offenses, both fines and imprisonment are mandatory. If a juridical person or organization violates the act, its president or chief executive officer is held responsible. The last chapter is chapter 8, the common provision. In section 51 state that the institute, as per the act, is responsible for creating and issuing rules and regulations to enforce the provision outlined in the act. This must be done within 90 days of the act taking effect. Additionally, the Institute is required to submit these rules and regulations to both the Office of the President and the Congress of the Philippines for review and acknowledgement. Republic Act number 8491, the Flag and Heraldic Code of the Philippines requires every Filipino to show reverence and respect to the national symbols like the flag, anthem, motto, and heraldic items. This law emphasizes the duty to honor objects representing our national identity. In Article 2, Section 1 of the Code of Ethics for Professional Teachers emphasize that the teacher are entrusted with the responsibility of nurturing citizens in school. They are obligated to pass on cultural education and educational heritage, elevate national morality, foster pride, cultivate love of country, instill allegiance to the Constitution, respect for authorities, and promote obedience to the law of the state. Again, class, the Republic Act number 8491, Flag and Heraldic Code of the Philippines, has 8 chapters. The chapter 1 is the national anthem, and in the chapter 1 it has 8 parts, which are the national flag, hosting and display of the national flag, the conduct of flag raising, half-mast, the casket, pledge to the flag, flag days, and the last part of the chapter 1 is the specification of the national flag. Chapter 2 is the national anthem. Chapter 3 is the national motto. Chapter 4 is the national coat of arms. Chapter 5 is the great seal. Chapter 6 is the official cells and the other heraldic items and devices. Chapter 7 is the penalties. And the last chapter of the Republic Act number 8491 is the chapter 8, the common provision. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something about the Republic Act number 8491, Flag and Heraldic Code of the Philippines.
At this time, we'll now proceed to Module 6, Lesson 5, which talks about 2 Republic Acts, the Republic Act 10533 and Republic Act 10157. So the learning objectives of these lessons are to explore the important provisions of the Kindergarten Education Act and salient feature of the Philippine K-12 program.
Second learning objective is to compare the Philippine K-12 program with other countries around the world. Today, we'll be discussing about Republic Act 10533, or known as the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013. It is an act enhancing the Philippine basic education system by strengthening its curriculum and increasing the number of years for basic education, appropriating funds, therefore, and for other purposes. In simple terms, it is an act that improves education systems that by giving every student an education that is globally competitive.
Posted on the screens are the following salient features of K-12 program. First is strengthening early childhood education or universal kindergarten. It is said to be the fundamental aspect in entering to formal education, and also it becomes a prerequisite in entering grade 1.
Second is making the curriculum relevant to learners or the contextualization and enhancement. Learning activities are contextualized and indigenized to make lessons relevant to learners. Local culture, history, and reality are integrated in the curriculum. In this case, learning will become easy for children.
Third is building proficiency through language, mother tongue-based multilingual education. The mother tongue serves as the primary medium for instruction, providing a solid foundation for the learners to learn Filipino and English. Fourth is ensuring integrated and seamless learning, or known as spiral progression. It is to ensure the mastery of knowledge and skills to important subjects such as biology, geometry, chemistry, and algebra, which are taught from simplest concepts to more complicated concepts through grade levels. This approach is called spiral progression. Fifth is gearing up for the future. Senior high school, additional 2 years making up the upper section. Additional 2 years making up the upper secondary education or senior high school was established. Based on their interests, the students can choose 4 strands, which are the following: STEM, or the Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics; the ABM, or the Accountancy and Business Management. Third one is the HUMS, or the Humanities and Social Sciences. And fourth one is the GAS, or the General Academic strand. 6 is the tuition fee supplements to students in private colleges and universities. Every graduate under the K-12 program will be equipped with the following: information, media, and technology skills, learning and innovation skills, effective communication skills, and lastly is the life and career skills. 7 is the nurturing the holistically developed Filipino, college and livelihood readiness, 21st century skills. So basically, there are 7 salient features in the K-12 program. That's it for the RA 10533, or known as the Enhanced Education or the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013.
Our next topic in Lesson 5 is the Republic Act number 10157, or the Kindergarten Education Act. It is approved on January 20, 2012 by President Benigno S. Aquino III. In consonance with the Millennium Development Goals on Achieving Education for All, or EFA, by the year 2015, it is hereby declared the policy of the state to provide equal opportunities for all children to avail of accessible, mandatory, and compulsory kindergarten education that effectively promotes physical, social, intellectual, emotional, and skills stimulation and values formation to sufficiently prepare them for formal elementary schooling. This act shall apply to elementary school system, being the first stage of compulsory and mandatory formal education. Thus, kindergarten will now be an integral part of the basic education system of the country. Some of the highlights of this law are as follows. First, institutionalization of kindergarten education as part of the basic education and compulsory for entering grade 1. Adaptation of mother tongue-based multilingual education or MTLMLE method, and creation of Bureau of Elementary Education. Section 4. Institutionalization of kindergarten education. Kindergarten education is hereby institutionalized as part of basic education, and for school year 2011 to 2012 shall be implemented partially, and thereafter it shall be made mandatory and compulsory for the entrance to grade 1. So, for a child to enter grade 1, he or she should take a kindergarten first. The child could not proceed to grade 1 even though the child knows how to read and write, or the age of a child is old for being a kindergarten. For them to enter the grade 1, they should go on kindergarten because it is mandatory and compulsory. In Section 5, Medium of Instruction, the state shall hereby adopt the Mother Tongue-based Multilingual Education or MTB-MLE method. The mother tongue of the learner shall be the primary medium of instruction for teaching and learning in the kindergarten level. However, exceptions shall be made to the following cases. First, when the pupil in the kindergarten classroom have different mother tongues or when some of them speak another mother tongue. Next, when the teacher does not speak the mother tongue of the learners. And C. When resources in line with the use of the mother tongue are not yet available. And lastly, when teachers are not yet trained how to use the MTB-MLE program. Section 6. Implementing Agency, the authority to regulate the organization, operation, and or implementation of the kindergarten education program of both public and private schools shall be vested upon the DepEd through the creation of a new division under the BEE and other necessary support to achieve successful implementation of kindergarten education to include but not limited to increasing the number of kindergarten teacher positions with the required salaries and benefits, enhancing teacher training in early education, and providing the necessary allocations for classrooms and chairs, facilities and equipment, and textbooks. The BEE with the other necessary support helps to achieve successful implementation of kindergarten education. Without the BEE, this Republic Act would fail, so the BEE also is vested upon the DepEd, so they are partners. That would be all in Lesson 5. I hope you've learned something and thank you for listening.
Since you already learned and understand the Module 6, Lesson 5, which are the Republic Act number 10533 and Republic Act number 10157, now I will assess your learnings by having this activity called Yes or No. You will just going to answer yes if you agree with a statement or no if you disagree. Just raise your hand if you want the answer. Okay, the first statement. Republic Act number 10533 extend the basic education program in the Philippines. Who wants to answer? Yes, Mark. Okay, very good. The correct answer is yes. Because Republic Act number 10533, also known as the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, extends the basic education program in the Philippines by adding 2 years to the previous 10-year program. It mandates a kindergarten and 12 years of quality education for all Filipino students. Number 2 statement. The Kindergarten Education Act emphasized the importance of early childhood education. Trisha, what is your answer? Yes, very good. It is a yes. The Kindergarten Education Act, also known as Republic Act number 10157, emphasizes the importance of early childhood education. It aims to provide equal opportunities for all children to access and benefit from quality kindergarten education. Third statement. The Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013 ensures 12 years of quality education for all Filipino students. It is a yes or no? Joshua? Thank you. It is a yes, because the Enhanced Basic Education of 2013 ensures 12 years of quality education for all Filipino students. It covers both primary and secondary education with the addition of 2 years in the previous basic education program. Fourth statement. Republic Act 10157 focuses on providing access to free and compulsory elementary education. It is a yes or no? Yes, Adelisa? Yes, correct. It is a yes because Republic Act number 10157, it is focuses on providing access to free and compulsory elementary education. It aims to ensure that every Filipino child has the opportunity to complete a full elementary education. The last statement, the Kindergarten Education Act aims to promote the holistic development of children. It is a yes or no? Yes, Sarah? Correct. It is also a yes. The Kindergarten Education Act aims to promote the holistic development of children by providing them with a strong foundation of in early childhood education. It recognizes the importance of early learning and the impact it has on a child's overall development. That will be all in our activity. Thank you for participating, class. Now, please prepare again for your next lesson.
So now we will tackle about the last law covered from the Module 6 entitled Republic Act number 10931. But before that, we will have first an activity entitled Share Your Thoughts. I want you to read the given statement here and state your answer to my question. The question is, what do you think is the possible reasons why only few Filipinos are able to earn a college degree? So let's hear the answer of Carlan. Okay, thank you. What about May Queen? Thank you for that. What about Mark? Thank you. Let's hear the answer of April. Thank you. And what about Desiree? Okay, thank you. All of the answers sum up the word poverty. Just like the financial problem, career over education, socioeconomic status, and financially unstable. Now I will choose 3 students to explain or expound your answers. Let's hear Carlan's explanation. Okay, very good. The next one is May Queen. Okay, thank you for that. Lastly, let's hear the explanation of Mark. Okay, very good. Thank you for participating in this activity. Indeed, it was all because of the lack of money or simply experiencing poverty. We can't deny the fact that poverty is the reason why students wasn't able to pursue their education, especially in the tertiary level, due to the fact that some chooses to work or the career over education as answered by one of you earlier. They chooses to work and set aside education to help their family in their basic daily needs. That's why this law is being implemented, which is to provide free education for students. So our learning outcomes, at the end of the lesson, the pre-service teachers can discuss the government subsidies provided in Republic Act number 10931 and discover the impact of government subsidies to its beneficiaries. So former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte signed the bill on August 3, 2017 to provide an opportunity for students who are constantly for the right to receive an education. Hence, the implementation of the Free Education Law. So, what is Free Education Law? Republic Act number 10931, known as the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act of 2017. An act promoting universal access to quality tertiary education by providing free tuition and other school fees in state universities and colleges, local universities and colleges, and state-run technical vocational institution, establishing the tertiary education subsidy and student loan program, strengthening the unified student financial assistance system for tertiary education, and appropriating fund thereof, as stated in the title of the law. It was launched and implemented by CHED on March 26, 2018. In short, this law ensures government subsidies to students who intend to earn the tertiary education. Also, it is a commitment to provide quality and affordable education for all. And to clarify, CHED means Commission on Higher Education. It is a Philippine government's agency in charge with promoting relevant and quality higher education. So there are four main programs under RA 10931. The free higher education subsidy in SUCs and LUCs, tertiary education subsidies, student loan program for tertiary education, and the free technical vocational education and training. So first is the free higher education subsidy in SUCs and LUCs. This program covers all Filipino students who are either currently enrolled or shall enroll in any SUCs and LUCs shall be exempted from paying tuition and other school fees for units enrolled in. In this program, states and local universities and colleges are only mentioned, meaning private colleges are not included in these programs. For proper understanding, SUCs means state universities and colleges. This kind of institutions are fully subsidized by the national government. Perfect example is the USEP. SUCs means local universities and colleges. These are higher educational institutions that are being run by local government unit in the Philippines. There is also an exemption to this program. Those students who have already obtained a bachelor's degree, have failed to comply with the admission and or retention policies of the LUCs and SUCs, failed to complete their bachelor's degree within the period prescribed in their chosen program, and lastly, voluntarily opt out of the free higher education provision. Moving on to the benefits of these programs, free tuition and miscellaneous, which includes library fee, computer fees, laboratory fees, student IDs fees, athletic fees, admission fees, handbook fees, registration fees, medical and dental fees, cultural fees, and other school and related fees. And as you can see, those benefits are what we also enjoyed while studying here in USEP, because it was, as what I have mentioned earlier, USEP is a state university, which is one of the main target of this program. Next is the Tertiary Education Subsidy, or the TES. The purpose of this program is to support the cause of tertiary education beneficiaries. Established for all Filipino students who shall enroll in the first undergraduate program offered in SUCs, LUCs, and private higher education institution, subject to prioritization of availability of funds. And the most priority are ESGPPA grantees, expanded students grants in 8 program for poverty alleviation, ongoing TDP test grantees. TDP means Tulong Dunong program. Students enrolled in Philippine higher institution situated in municipality city with no SUCs or LUCs, meaning students should be a resident on that municipality. And lastly, those belongs to the listahan of the DSWD. So moving on to the third program, the Students Loan Program, SLP, for tertiary education. All Filipino students in undergraduate and graduate level who enroll in programs that are listed in the Registry of Quality Assured Programs offered in SUCs, LUCs, state grant TVIs, private HEs, and private TVIs can avail. This covers the expenses for the review of licensure examination administered by the PRC. And payment will commence once the beneficiary already has a secure work with compensation, a remuneration, or earnings that reaches the compulsory repayment threshold. So if the students have secured a work, that's where the repayment starts. It could be through Land Bank and some banks in the Philippines which has or which caters an educational student loans. And the last program, which is the Free Technical Vocational Education and Training, or free TVET. The first thing we consider when we hear this is the TESDA. TESDA is a part of educational system that provides quality courses and training programs related to employment, which enables the transition of students from secondary education to work. In simple words, if you only finish a secondary education, you have the chance to work through this program. The main concern of this program is to secure job after you finish your secondary education. In this program, those who can avail are all Filipino learners enrolled in their National Certificate NC2 in any public technical vocational institution registered with the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority or the TESDA. Those certificate mentions are the necessary documents for acquiring the training. Also, the NC2 is one of the requirements if you wish to go to abroad and work there. And those who can't avail are students who have obtained a bachelor's degree, receive a certificate or diploma for technical vocational courses equivalent to at least National Certificate 3 and above. And also, the most important is the benefits of this program, which are the free tuition and other school fees. Learners shall be given allowance to support their training expenses, living allowance, national competency assessment fee, and starter toolkits. And also, all DVET programs in public institutions registered with the TESDA shall be free. Okay, that's all for the lesson 6. Thank you for listening, and I hope that everybody have understand and learned about my discussion. Again, I am Coriel Amadara, your teacher, and have a great day, everyone.
Before we proceed to the other activity, let us have an activity called Scavenger Hunt. A scavenger hunt is a game in which the organizer prepare a set of defining specific items in which the participants or students seek to gather or complete all the items in the list. The procedure of this game is the students will be divided into small groups consist of 3 to 4 members. Each group will be given a list of topic and a set of guidelines for scavenger hunt. You can look for answers through the finished discussion of the teachers, and also you can use various resources such as online sources and reference materials to gather information on each topic. Each group should document their findings, including the key points, important provisions, and relevant facts of each topic. Here are the following topics, and I will only give you 10 to 15 minutes to finish your activity. And the grading of this activity will be based on the given rubrics. Please settle down and start.
Our next activity is think, pair, and share. Our procedure is students will envision themselves in their future, applying the knowledge, skills, and concepts they learned in the lessons. They will choose a partner and ask each other for their insight on the following question. Question number 1, how can teacher incorporate the principle and guidelines outlined in the laws discussed in Module 6 into their daily teaching practices to ensure a safe and inclusive learning environment? Second question, as a future educator, how can you utilize the legal foundation established by the laws highlighted in Module 6 to promote gender equality, prevent harassment, and create a respectful and inclusive education settings? Students will write down their answer on a piece of paper. The papers will be graded based on their given rubric.
Since we're done with the Module 6, let's have an activity to wrap up the whole module. So I have 3 questions. The 3 question will be answered by the following students I will call. So, number 1, what are the common themes or objectives shared by the laws discussed in the Module 6 related to the teaching profession in the Philippines? Number 2, how did these laws contribute to the establishment of a legal foundation for the teaching profession in the Philippines? And number 3, in what ways do these laws reflect the government's commitment to supporting and regulating the teaching profession in the country? So for the first question, may I call on Miss Bongo? Miss Bongo, what are your answer on number 1? So, according to Ms. Bongo, Republic Act focused on various aspects of education, including access to education, equality and non-discrimination, protect against violence, quality education, financial support, and cultural heritage. These laws aim to ensure equal opportunities for learning, prohibit discrimination, and create a safe environment for learners. They also address financial barriers by providing free tuition fees in the state universities and colleges and financial assistance to eligible students. Additionally, they emphasize the importance of education in preserving and promoting the nation's cultural heritage and instilling patriotism among learners. Overall, these laws aim to create an inclusive, non-discriminatory, and quality education system that promotes individual development and national progress. So for the next question, let's call on Miss Amatong. Okay, Miss Amatong, what are your answers on number 2? So according to Miss Amatong, Republic Act number 6728 established the creation of the TESDA, promoting technical education, and the RA 8545 focuses on strengthening the teaching profession through accreditation. The RA 9710, 9626, and 7877 address gender equality and protection in the workplace, including educational institution. The RA 8190 regulates the practice of teaching in private education. The RA 8491 outlines the national anthem, emphasizing its significant education. RA 10533 and RA 10157 relate to the enhancement of the Philippine educational system. The RA 10931, or the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act, promotes accessible higher education. Together, these laws form a comprehensive legal framework supporting and regulating the teaching professions in the Philippines. So for the last question, let's call on Mr. Gabonilas. Mr. Gabonilas, what are your answers on number 3? So according to Mr. Gabonilas, this law reflects the government's commitment to the teaching profession in various ways, addressing issues like educational funding, gender equality, violence against women, electoral funds, national flag and anthem protocols, and universal access to quality education. They demonstrate a comprehensive approach to governance, emphasizing the importance of education, social welfare, and civic responsibility. So that's all for the generalization. Thank you, students, for participating and sharing your knowledge. That's all. God bless us all.
Finally, you are now done learning the Module 6. At this point, I will be giving you additional activity. You will be making a reflection paper, and these are the guide questions you need to answer. First, guide question. How do the various provisions outlined in Republic Act number 10533, Republic Act number 10931, and Republic Act 9710 contribute to the improvement of the teaching profession and the overall education system in the Philippines? The second guide question, discuss the specific impacts and implications of these laws on the development of educators and the promotion of quality education in the country. Please follow the format that I will be given. The paper size is A4, the font is Arial, and font size is 12. It should be justify and double space, and the number of words is a minimum of 300 and maximum of 400 words. And it should be passed with the PDF document type. Your reflection paper will be graded according to these rubrics. Do you understand, class? Okay. Before we formally end the class, may I request everyone to please stand up for our closing prayer. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Dear God, we thank you for this wonderful day, sharing your love with our teacher and classmates. Thank you for the strength and excellence you gave us to learn and understand our lessons. Thank you to our teachers, parents, and classmates who shared to us the joy of learning. Amen.
In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. That's all for our discussion today, class. I hope you learn and understand our discussion. See you in the next meeting. Goodbye, class.